Gold and silver can never be made worthless. And the reason being, I mean, gold is accepted anywhere and everywhere around the world. The West has tried since August 15th, 1971 to demonetize gold. And the peak of their success would have been the year 2000 when gold hit $252 an ounce. Here we are now at what, $3,200? I mean, you were looking at $35 an ounce in 1971, and we just recently hit $3,500. So that is 100-fold increase. And another way to say that is the dollar lost 99% of its value since 1971. So to answer your question, I don't think there's any way that gold and silver can become worthless. And the dollar itself is the reason behind the BRICS formation in the first place. And then, of course, what really cemented psychologically to the BRICS and proved to them that they were correct to try to exit and move away from the dollar is when Russia had the $300 billion in reserves sequestered, absconded with, whatever you want to call it. What was it? It was October of 2023. I mean, if the United States can steal $300 billion from Russia, they can steal whatever they want from anyone they want. Well, first off, I mean, I could show you on the back of a napkin, simple, and this would have been 6, 7, 8 years ago, that they had already accumulated 25,000 metric tons. I think the number is now at least 35,000 metric tons. And
You're talking about China.
I'm talking about China. If I said the U.S., I was wrong. The U.S., we say that we have 8,300 tons. It's not been audited since the 1950s. How much do we really have? My guess is we probably have a couple thousand tons left. And even if there is gold in Fort Knox, West Point, etc., a lot of that is already encumbered. It's been leased out. The paper rights or the paper ownership to a lot of the gold, I think, has already been moved, over the years to other entities. I mean, if they do an audit, and how do they come out with the real numbers? Because, I mean, it's clear, and we know that so much gold had been leased. I mean, even going into the year 2000, 2001, back when Canada sold their gold, Britain sold, 40% of their gold. You had mining companies all over the world forward leasing, and then, of course, the price started to rise, and those had to be covered with billions of dollars of losses. I think it's pretty plain to see that there was gold out of Fort Knox, West Point, etc., that had been leased out. So I don't know. I don't think an audit is going to be done, and if it is done, we're not going to get the real story anyway. I think what would be really interesting is for the world. When I say the world, I'm talking, the BRICS nations, led by Russia and China. It would be very interesting to see a stadium in China just filled with gold. Here's our gold. What do you have? And I think that is, if that were to happen, you would see a complete implosion in the value of the dollar. The dollar would be sold everywhere. And when I say the dollar, I'm including treasuries. So the Federal Reserve setting interest rates, they're in the process now, but under that circumstance, they would completely lose control of the yield curve. You'd see interest rates go to 10, 20, maybe 30, 50% to try to defend the dollar. And, now we're talking Banana Republic stuff, overt Banana Republic stuff. I'm buying silver, and I recommend that people buy silver over gold. Unless you're talking about big money and you've got storage problems and you don't want to store the metal at a non-bank private vault. Just because the ratio is 100 to 1, man's ratio, it takes 100 silver ounces to buy 1 ounce of gold. God's ratio is less than 10 to 1. So, figure it out for yourself. Which one's right, man's ratio or God's ratio? At 100 to 1, we dropped to 50 to 1, and your silver has, the silver has doubled in purchasing power versus gold. If it goes down to 25 to 1, you're looking at 4 times. So I think it's definitely in the cards that silver is going to outperform gold from these levels. I hope so, because the way the Constitution was set up, the way this country was set up on states' rights. It was not set up with a federal government basically that overlooks or oversees the states. I would much prefer to live in a state, whether it be Texas or another state, that's a sovereign state and, joined with other states and the federal government basically just providing the absolute bare necessities. Because the federal government it's not the state of Texas that's taking my civil liberties away. It's the federal government.
If you follow that logic, now your former partner Jim Sinclair often talked about with you and your viewers about a man-made reset that was when the keepers of our financial lives got pushed into a corner. They would try to reset the system and it would fail because it wouldn't be based on sound underlying reality of mathematics and tangible assets, etc. Time or Distance asks, did Jim share his, quote, first man-made reset number for gold?
And as a matter of fact, I think his number was something like $3,500. So we're in that neighborhood right now. You're watching the man-made reset. I mean, just again, look at the BRICS versus the West. So there's your divide. There will be a reset from that. But as Jim talked about, being a man-made reset, it's not going to work, because whatever the reset of the dollar is, it's still going to be a fiat. I mean, even if they push us into CBDCs, what is the backing to that currency? There is no backing. Whereas, the BRICS is going to back their currency somewhere 20 to 40% ratio. We don't know what that number is going to be. But even at 20%, you'd have to have big numbers. I mean, you probably have to have 15, 20,000 gold just with a 20% backing. The second reset, and there could be a third reset, is going to be more Mother Nature. It'll look more like Mother Nature, like a real reset, something that is done by free and unfettered markets, as opposed to a new currency being jammed down our throats, which is the plan in the man-made reset. When do we sell our gold? When do we sell our silver and buy other assets? I don't think you can do that until there is a currency, some type of currency that can be trusted. Once there's a currency that can be trusted, then you'll see another and another. And what that will be basically is the world going back to asset-based currencies, whether it be silver or gold or oil or what have you. As far as real estate is concerned, why would the questioner, why would he even consider moving from gold to real estate at these levels? Because real estate is a prime example of an asset that's been blown up in, I don't want to say value, but in price, way past the true value. True values on real estate are basically what kind of income, what kind of revenue can you derive from that real estate. And I mean, years ago, you could buy a piece of real estate for way less, with the cash flow being a much greater percentage than what it is now. Now it's all speculation. People buy real estate because, quote, it goes up. And what the reasoning behind that is, there's been so much debt. I mean, all you got to do is drive through a major city and see stuff being built. And you look at all the big, skyscrapers. None of those are owned free and clear. None of these things are being built with cash. They're all being built, bought, and sustained with debt. And in a debt meltdown, you're going to see real estate drop a minimum. You've already seen it in commercial real estate, but you're going to see a minimum drop of 50%, and probably more likely 70, 80, even 90% in price to get real estate back to a foundational asset. When I say foundational asset, meaning whatever cash flow can be derived from that real estate can carry the whole thing and give a dividend, if you will. But if you own a piece of property that the cash flow just covers all your expenses, so it's not even negative cash flow, but there's a lot of deals now out there because of price that are negative cash flow. But we get to the point where cash flow, where you're not cash flow negative. The bet right there is real estate's going to go up. That's the only reason you would want to own the real estate, because if it's cash flow neutral, if you're not getting anything from it, where's your win? Your win only comes if the real estate goes up. But with a debt liquidation, real estate is going to get destroyed. And when all is said and done, once we go through the tumult of a financial collapse, real estate, by and large, is going to be seen as a liability rather than an asset. Because, let's say you have an income-producing piece of property and the economy goes to shit. Now you're trying to carry that thing. You got to pay the interest, you got to pay the taxes, and of course taxes have exploded over the last 5 or 10 years. So I'll just leave it by saying that I think real estate is going to be seen as a liability rather than an asset at some point in the not too distant future.